Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Lord's willing, this lesson be edifying, all right, but also exhorting, because what I want to get into today was, something I perceived through the Spirit to be an answer, to the prayer that I spoken unto the Lord yesterday morning. I had a very, what I perceive to be, right, which I'm going to get into it, but to be a very spiritual morning yesterday, right? I wanted to do a lesson on it yesterday, but I had to, meditate on certain things and that. So what I prayed unto the Lord for, your daily morning prayers or whatever, right? I'm not going to get into the specifics, but one thing I prayed for was, of course, that the Lord returns soon. All right. But there was also something I asked the Lord for, for when I achieved a new body, when I got a new body, Lord's will, we be of that number of the elect. All right. Of the first fruits of receiving the new bodies. But, I asked the Lord to give me something, first thing I got that body. All right. And the answer, or what I perceived to be an answer, all right, was given to me, not too long after. Sometimes, the Lord does answer us. Sometimes he may answer you a month later. It depends on the Heavenly Father, but he also answers us in different ways. Sometimes you have to be, circumspect and, watching, to perceive your answer. Right. So after that, I ended up going to the store with my mom, and there was an employee, right? And he happened to have some tattoos, in which I have a picture, but he happened to have some tattoos, and one of them was in Hebrew, right? What are the odds? You randomly go to the store, and out of all people, you can read Hebrew, right? In which it wasn't the ancient Paleo Hebrew, it was like the Aramaic, but still. Right, what are the odds the employee has a word written in Hebrew on his arm? All right, and here's an image of that here. All right, as you can read, it reads Ahaba. All right, Ahaba in the Hebrew, and it's coupled with a pocket watch. All right, which we're going to get into that as well. It was very spiritual to me, but going into what this word means, ahaba, it pretty much means loved, all right, or to love. And here I have it here in 1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 3, and it reads here, then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved them as his own soul. All right, so Jonathan and David, they had that strong, brotherly bond. All right, they had that strong love for one another. So when you look into this word love, and again, all right, going into what it was that I prayed unto the Lord, this was a perfect response. That's why, I know this was Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So here, because he loved, right, Ahaba. Going back to here, Ahaba, right? Love, human love for human object, of man toward man, of man toward himself, between man and woman, sexual desire, the Most High's love to his people. Right. So, seeing that, immediately I was, my faith was at an all-time high. It just felt good. When the Lord, especially that quick, it's just always good to know that the Lord is there, even though we know that. But when the Lord actually, does something to show it, of course, it's going to hit more, So that was that. So also dealing with this stopwatch here, right? I decided through the Spirit, I'm like, let me look at what time this says, And as we can see here, the one that little tick at the top, that would be 12. So 2 ticks back on the hour hand to the left, that would be what? 10 o'clock. And then over here, a tick to the right, that would be 1, and then another tick would be 2. So it's in the middle a little, All right, and I perceived that to be pretty much at the 7. All right, so this time would read 10:07. All right, so that's 1007, and I didn't know what that meant. So, I came over here to chat and asked it, right, 1007 meaning, and chat brought up, right, this first portion doesn't really matter, but it says here as a Strong's number. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, right? Let me try and plug this number in to the concordance, right, on the blue letter to see what words that it gives me, But here, ChatGPT, all right, was given some words as well, which varied from the ones that the blue letter gave me. So Chat's concordance, I have no idea where Chat was getting this from, but it was wrong. All right. Now it was wrong, but the message or what Chat gave me, all right, I also still perceive that to be a message from the Heavenly Father, right? A message from Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Bashai, because it still fit perfectly to what I prayed for. Even though Chat was wrong, the outcome that it gave me just so happened to perfectly fit, what I prayed for. So here, so pretty much, and as we go through what it says for the Hebrew and the Greek in the concordance that Chat used versus the concordance that the blue letter Bible has, all right, you will see how it speaks about two sides of the same coin. It speaks about pretty much the righteous and the wicked. And again, keeping that time, all right, keeping that clock in mind. So here, the Strong's concordance that the Chat gave me first in the Hebrew, you have what? A Bethlehemite, a person from Bethlehem. And we know who was that, the most prominent person from Bethlehem, Yahushai. All right. Now in the Greek, right, G1007, it gave what? Boitris, in the Greek, a cluster of grapes. And who is likened unto a cluster of grapes? Right. When we go here to the book of 2nd Esdras, because Chat, as it reads here, it gave us Revelation 14 and 18 through 19. All right. And that's going into the judgment, right, I believe, where it speaks about reaping the cluster of grapes, and that's going into the judgment of the wicked. But here, all right, in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter, the elect of the nation of Israel, those who are fated to be delivered by the Lord, they're also likened unto a cluster of grapes. So again, going back to that one part of my prayer, was that what? The Lord returned soon to deliver us, man. 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verse 20. And it reads, so I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that were come into it. And I saw and spared it greatly, in which this world that the Lord is dealing with is the world of Israel, all right, the nation of Israel. And I saw and spared it greatly, Salakia, and have kept me a grape of the cluster. Salakia, kept me a grape of the cluster, and that grape of the cluster, as it continues, and a plant of a great people, all right, is going into the nation of Israel, or the elect of the nation of Israel, rather. And it reads here, let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain. All right, and that's, dealing with what? The wicked of our people. And let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. All right, so that's going into those who serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Bashai unto salvation, and those who are going to be delivered by the Lord. So that's what I, perceive this side to be, speaking about Yahushai, that Bethlehemite, all right, who is soon to deliver what? That grape of his cluster, all right, soon to deliver us, man, Lord's willing. We be of the elect of the nation of Israel, all right. Now, dealing with the concordance here, when you go to H107, you get Beth Haven, all right. Beth Haven, Joshua chapter 7, verse 2. Beth Haven, which is a place But we're going to look into the meaning of the name. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. So looking into this word Bethaven, or the name, all right, Bayath Awan, house of vanity. All right, and again, the Lord, two sides of the same coin. Again, going into the first off, this stopwatch, all right, which means what? Time is ticking, right? The time, you know, we're winding down to the time of that day, the day of the Lord's return. And during that day, all right, you're going to have wicked that are judged, but also righteous that are delivered. In this house of vanity, all right, that would be likened unto the wicked, in which ultimately, you know, we know this house of vanity, all right, is what? America, right? Scriptures refer to America as the mother of harlots. All right, let's get the book of Revelation chapter 17 verse 5, and it reads, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. All right, the mother of vanities. You know, the house of vanities, the house of wickedness, in which that word vanity goes into, you know, pretty much worthlessness, right? Let's go back real quick and look into that word. Or, well, it didn't happen. So let's go to the etymology of that word. Here it says, vanity, that which is vain, futile, or worthless. Emptiness, aimlessness, falsity, figuratively, vain glory, foolish pride. All right, and that's ultimately what America has. That's ultimately what Esau has. All right, even the wicked of our people, they have that foolish pride, which gets them to chase the vanity, which gets them to focus on the vain things instead of the spiritual. All right, instead of serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, scriptures say they serve their own bellies, man. All right, and they serve false idols. You know, they serve gods that aren't gods, which I believe when you look into this word abominations, right? I believe it's abominations. A foul thing, a detestable thing of idols and things pertaining to idolatry. Right? And when you go back, or when we go back to I believe, what verse was that? Joshua 7:2. Here, all right, and you look into these other names like Ai or Ai, all right, Ai. It reads here, heap of ruins. Now, because of America, because of its vanities, because of its abominations, because of it being the mother of harlots, because of, you know, the things and the wickedness that America has committed, that Esau has committed, what the Lord is coming to judge this place and turn it into a heap of ruins. All right, scriptures speak about there being no inhabitants, you know. Let's grab that in the book of Jeremiah, I want to say the 50th chapter. It's the book of Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 39. And then there was something else that happened that day, and that's going to be the icing on top. We'll get to that last. But it's the book of Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 39. And it reads, therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild, let's actually start a verse up. And a drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images, and they are made upon their idols. All right, we went into that word abominations. What did it go into? Idols, idol worship. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever. neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Why? Because it's going to be completely destroyed. All right, a heap of ruins, except even those ruins are going to be destroyed. All right, it's going to be left a desert. So again, coming back here, because also the fact that, you know, when you put in H1007, this is the scripture that pops up. All right, and when you look into the names of these places, heap of ruins, Beth Haven, right, house of vanities, you know, and also there's spake unto them, go up and view the country, Bethel, right? Bethel means what? House of God. Right now would be likened unto who? Ultimately, the elect of the nation of Israel. So you got the house of vanity and the house of the Most High. All right, the wicked and the righteous. And during the time of America, which is that house of vanity, or houses, the house of vanity, all right, ultimately, during the time of the destruction of the house of vanity, you're going to have the deliverance of the house of the Most High. All right, the house of David, the elect of the nation of Israel, the remnant. Now, when we get G, the Greek, in the blue letter, you have here 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 15. It gives you the word or the name Besor, which have forsaken the right way and are going astray, following the ways of Balaam, the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. Right? Let's go into this word Besor. Here, G 1007. Right? Remember, this 1007 was the number on the pocket watch, and it reads here. What does it mean? Burning or torch. All right, which is fitting because that's exactly how the Lord is going to judge America and ultimately 2/3 of our people, by burning, by fire. All right, by way of thermonuclear fire, those nukes. All right, and as well as lasers from the chariots of the angels and Yahweh Shai. That's how America will become that heap of ruins. That's how America will become, you know, a place of no inhabitants. You know. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 34 verse 9. Verse 8. And it reads here, for it is the day of the Lord Yahweh's, Bahashem Yahweh Shai's, vengeance, and a year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. And who is he coming to avenge? Well, as we just read, Zion, the world, his world, the world of Israel, the elect of the Israel, all right? But he's coming to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel. And that main vengeance, the main place getting hit with vengeance is what? America is getting completely wiped off the map. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. All right, burning pitch. Let's actually see what the word burning here says. Ba'ir, to burn, consume, kindle, be kindled, to begin to burn, to be kindled. All right, to burn. I'm going to go back, and I forgot to read the Hebrew for Besor. So let's actually do this. Oh, it's in Greek. All right. But here's the Hebrew origin. Almost the same word. But I war. By war. But here, when you go back all the way to what? The root is the same word. Ba'ir. All right. So that's how America's going out. You know, that's how the wicked are going out. Over here on this side of the world is by fire. And you know, the time is ticking. All right, that time is soon. Now, I mentioned you know, the icing on the cake, right, is which is right here. When you look up top, you know, I was like 2 hours later that day, I felt, you know, I just checked my notifications and I seen the word Israel, but then I closed my phone. So, you know, I was thinking that it was like a notification from a brother's video, like maybe that was their title, but it looked a little different to me. So I had, you know, what's it called? I looked back, right? I had to, damn, I forgot what it's called, but pretty much I looked back at it, right? And it says here, your orders arriving, Israel, in which, don't mind the pork bacon. Obviously that's not for me, but you know, we can't all be believers, right? But yeah, it says, Israel, your orders arriving. All right. And this was spiritual as well. You know, this all happened the same day, but you know, it's like a play on words. The one who delivered the groceries, his name was Israel. So what? Israel delivered, right? Your orders arriving, that means it's going to be there soon. Israel delivered soon. You know, that's what came to my mind upon seeing this. We're going to be delivered soon. You know, again, going back to the prayer I started off with, what? I prayed for the Lord to deliver us soon. All right. And this is, you know, this is what I perceive to be an answer of that, man. Because I asked the Lord for that as well. You know, to answer me. You know, so this was really the icing on the cake for me. So going back here, you know, as we said, even though the chat was wrong in its concordance, it still aligned perfectly with what I prayed for, you know, and the Lord will do that. You know, scriptures say that all things, roughly paraphrasing, I believe Romans 8:28, I want to say, but all things work to the good of, let's just grab it. It's the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And it reads, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called according to his purpose. So for some reason, all right, the chat gave me this, a Bethlehemite, a cluster of grapes. All right. Which we know that there's no such things as coincidence. Because even, you know, when I asked chat, all right, I said, when I search the Strong's Concordance, I get different things. I meant to say different things, but here, when I let it know that I use blue letter, that's when it gave me the correct things. Here, it says here, you're right, and thanks for catching that. I made a mistake earlier. And you know how? Why? You're right again, and thanks for pointing it out. The entry I previously gave was incorrect. I had cited a different Hebrew Strong's number. Thanks for catching that. If you're using Blue Letter Bible, I recommend relying on its Strong's numbering. It's the standard reference and will remain consistent across the site. So if the Blue Letters, you know, Strong's numbering is the standard, well, why was that not the one chat pulled? You know? Why was that not the one it referred to? But instead, it referred to some other shit, you know, giving me Bethlehemite and a cluster of grapes, which still fit the prayer. So, you know, two sides of the same coin for both, you know, going back to this image here, for both America and the 2/3 of our people, all right, for the wicked, destruction, the day of the Lord means destruction, all right, but it also means deliverance for the elect, you know, and it's happening soon, man, sooner than we believe, all right, that's what scriptures say. And if you don't want to be a part of that destruction, you have to repent. Turn back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai before it's too late. Let's grab the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 8. And it reads, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. Right? Dealing with the nation of Israel. Over here in America, only 2/3, only 1/3 of our people will be delivered. 2/3, that's every 2 out of 3 Israelites. All right, every 2 out of 3 so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and Negroes. Every 2 out of 3 of them are going to die. All right, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop that. It's prophecy. But the 3rd shall be left therein, and I will bring the 3rd part through the fire. All right, we know ultimately, as we went into, the fire being who? Or the fire being what? The second death, that judgment of America by way of fire. But also, fire also goes into, tribulation. All right, and the Lord is going to bring them through that tribulation. But that tribulation, that fire is going to be a purifying fire. All right, to better them. All right, throughout that tribulation. As it goes on to say, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. All right, that trial is likened unto being purged in fire. They shall call on my name. All right, the names Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai. If you're not calling on those names, you are part of those 2/3 off rip. And I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, because only the Israelites who are calling on the name of the Lord are going to be recognized, all right, as his people. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, is my God. So if you're not saying that, you are going to be, left in the fire, all right, to be burnt, to be a part of America's destruction, a part of the scriptures say here, her iniquities. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. That's the word, plagues. All right, and this come out of her, my people. What did we just read in Zechariah? Those who call on the name of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, those are the ones that the Lord is going to call his people. All right, it doesn't matter if you're an Israelite. If you aren't serving the Lord and calling on the correct names, you will be left here to die. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 6, because as we just read, it went into what? Come out of her, my people. What is that coming out of her? That's the deliverance of the elect, being beamed up out of the fire, being beamed up out of the way of judgment. All right, being taken up into the ships. And in the midst of that, they are going to receive new bodies. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection, in which resurrection going into pretty much a renewing of life. All right, being raised up. And in the midst of that being raised up, being given, a new life via the new bodies. All right, but you're going to have, because the elect, not all of the elect is literally going to die. You're going to have some of them, all right, most of them probably, that are preserved through everything, that are, since they've been born into this generation, since they've been born into this lifestyle, they were all into this lifetime, Salakia, they were always fated to never die. And they're going to be, beamed up in that case. And you're going to have some who are dead, but are raised back up. All right, to still be delivered from that second death, from that judgment. As it reads here, on such the second death hath no power, because there in that second death is that fire, that great judgment upon America, Babylon the Great. So they're going to be saved through that. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of the Most High and of Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And that's going into the first 1,000 years in the kingdom of heaven. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 73. Because as we've been going into, all right, two sides of the same coin. Soon there's going to be the destruction of America and judgment upon the wicked. But in that same, thing, you're going to have the deliverance of the righteous. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 73. And it reads, "Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Then shall they be known who are my chosen." All right. And this is going to happen before the deliverance. The Lord is going to make it known who his elect is. All right. Before, he actually comes and delivers them from the judgment, and he can do that, by way of the certain divine interventions. All right. Certain people receiving spiritual power, certain, or pretty much just people being able to perceive that spirit upon them, but either way, the Lord is going to have it to where his elect is known. All right. And that's the side of the coin that you should want to be on, because scriptures also say that the day of the Lord is darkness rather than light. And it's really only darkness for those, who don't walk with the light of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right. They don't walk with the wisdom of the Lord that's going to lead them unto salvation. All right. That's going to prompt the Lord to have mercy upon them because they were serving him. But that's pretty much it. I perceive that to be what we went into, all right, yesterday, how I prayed and then went to the store, and this guy has a Hebrew tattoo that says love with a stopwatch on it, right? And then I get this notification how Israel delivered, it all was just very spiritual to me, and very, faith boosting, so we're definitely going to be out of here soon, man. So just keep working and serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because it's not for nothing, so I'll leave it off there. Once more, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Ruach HaKodesh, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, Salakia, but one more thing that just came back to me, right? Dealing with this notification here, because remember I said that I had to meditate on it at first, because when I first got this notification, I'm like, all right, the whole thing with the guy's tattoo that just happened, and now this, I'm like, that's not a coincidence, and yet I've met people whose name was Israel, but to happen now, that's not a coincidence. So, but at first I couldn't, see what I was meant to see, right? I couldn't understand it at first. Like, where does this connect? What am I supposed to be seeing here? But then late last night, right? I woke up randomly and I started dwelling on it again. And that's when it came to me, right? Israel delivered my food, right? My groceries, Israel delivered. And I'm like, oh, that is it. Israel delivered soon, and then when I got it, I checked the time, and I kid you not, all right, it was 4:41 in the morning. I should have screenshot that as well, but it was 4:41 in the morning when Israel delivered soon finally came to me, man. So, this was heavy, and I truly believe this was the Lord answering, my prayer, answering me, as well as looking at the even when I went into the words, all right, we searched a bit on the blue letter, all right, the specific verses that it gave, and then you looking into the words on those specific verses, also going into, the house of the Most High, all right, deliverance and the destruction of America, all right, even, 1 Samuel, the 18th chapter, all right, how the word that I seen on the guy was in that specific verse, Ahaba, loved, all right. And then I also said that, I wasn't going to go into complete detail on the prayer, but that verse itself, it also went along with what I prayed for, so it was just very spiritual to me, and Lord's will that it was resorting to you brothers, sisters, and the hopeful elect out there as well. So with that, I'll say shalom.